This is Straight Talk with Atlanta native Greg Fann, the preacher man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the Preacher Man.
All right, welcome today to Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and co-host Shanan E. Jones. Shanan may be here, may not be here. Ain't no telling what's going on with Shanan. He's been doing a lot of different things. You know, he's the president of the Concerned Black Clergy, and also working with a group called Faith Strategies, along with myself and Bishop Lackey. So he's out, you know, he's been having some car problems, and he's doing some other things, and he's probably going to join us a little later on. And perhaps even Bishop Jackson, or Bishop Lackey, they join us a little later on in the show today here on Straight Talk. We got Straight Talk news with none other than Miss C, and she's going to be talking to us today about things that's going on around during these spring break things, and then other church information and news. And our hearts and condolences go out to the family of the Pastor Palsy Redmond, who passed this week. And of course, we're praying for them. We've been knowing Reverend ever since I guess I was a little boy, almost teenager. Used to attend his church when he was pastored Pilgrim there on M.L. King, which used to be Hunter Street. So he used to go to his vacation Bible school, my brother and sister and myself. So we're certainly praying for him, his family, because we know the earth has no sorrow that heaven cannot heal. Well, we'll have Elizabeth Warren, and she'll be talking about, in the program today, she'll be talking about Justice Clarence Thomas' wife, Jenny Thomas, and her involvement in the insurrection. So we'll be back with more right here on Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, today. And of course, Shanan may join us, but if he doesn't, his name is Shanan E. Jones. All right, we'll be right back on the other side with Mrs. C. And Miss C is going to join us in just a minute. Miss C, are you there, Miss C? Miss C, are you there, Miss C? Will you join us, please, ma'am? Thank you.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast or more. Hey, Greg. Hey, Shanan. How y'all doing today? Good? Okay, that's good. All right, listen. New Zion Baptist welcomes you to their Palm Sunday service. That's April the 10th at 11 a.m. Dr. Gregory Pollard of the Enon Church will be guest preacher. New Zion is located at 2100 Abner Place in Northwest Atlanta, where Reverend Jarius Dorsey is pastor. St. John AME at 305 West Campbellton Street in Fairburn welcomes you to their Palm Sunday service April 10th at 9:50 a.m. Bishop Reginald Jackson, presiding prelate of the 6th Episcopal District, will bring the message. You can worship at St. John AME either in person or virtually on Facebook Live or YouTube. You can find out more on their website at www.stjohnfairburn.com. Reverend Charles R. Ramsey Jr. is pastor. Okay, let's see what's on the other side. Did y'all see me? I didn't let my eyes go down too far. Did I, Greg? Anyway, the South Fulton Ministerial Alliance invites you to their prayer breakfast Monday, April 4th from 10 a.m. until noon with Marvin Arrington Jr. as guest speaker. The prayer breakfast will be held at Enon Baptist, 3550 Enon Road in Atlanta. For more information, log on to marvinarringtonjr.com or Facebook or Twitter. Looking for something to do? I found out a lot of information on the WSBTV.com website. April 2nd through the 3rd, the Spring Festival on Ponce returns in the historic Olmsted Linear Park. It will include 125 displays, local and regional fine arts and crafts. Okay, April 3rd, the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters will perform at the State Farm Arena. When I was younger, when I was a child, I loved the Harlem Globetrotters, especially Metal Lock Lemon and Curly, and I can't remember the other names, but I'm sure they're still performing as well as they always, and they are truly a treat. April the 8th through the 10th is the Atlanta Dogwood Festival. They have arts, pottery, jewelry, just, oh, it's just so much fun. I also used to go out there when I was younger. You know, I can't seem to move around like I used to, so I don't visit these places, but I have wonderful memories of going there with my friends, and we'd stay all day looking at the artwork, and it was just always a fabulous time. Okay, that's going to be April 8th through the 10th at Piedmont Park, the Atlanta Dogwood Festival, and it's the 86th annual. All right, April 9th through the 10th, Monster Jam returns to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. I don't know if you've ever been near those trucks, but they are huge. They look like they could just, you know, when they're going over those dirt mounds or something, just going out the stadium. But anyway, it's always a lot of fun. And, you know, that's what we need to return to, is just getting out and having fun now, you know, now that we can a little bit, don't go overboard, but you know, it's really nice that things are happening so that we can enjoy some of the things that are outside especially. Okay, all right, listen, we'd like for you to do two things, well, really three things. We'd like for you to like us, to you know what? I had a senior moment. We'd like for you to like us. We'd like for you to subscribe, and we'd like for you to share us with your friends, okay? So 3 things we'd like for you to do: like us, subscribe, and share, okay? And we're going to see you right back here next time. Hope you have a wonderful week in the Lord. Bye now.
Well, thank you, Miss C. You do a wonderful job with church news and information here on Straight Talk, and of course telling people about what they can do. Then it's warming up, people get out with their families and have fun around Atlanta. You don't have to leave Atlanta, you can go right in Atlanta and don't never have to leave. There's so many things to do right here in the metro Atlanta area. And telling people about Palm Sunday services, and we're getting ready for the resurrection Sunday of Easter of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Miss C, you do a good job, even though you like messing with me. I don't know why, but Miss C, you mess with me, so I'm gonna have to mess with you, Miss C. You were not looking up at the time, you were looking down. All right, at this time, we're going to have a telephone interview with the Reverend Shanan Smith. Reverend Shanan Smith with Black Push. He is the founder and the CEO of Black Push. He's going to talk to us about his organization and the things that he's doing across this great nation. Shanan Smith, you got it, brother. You're now on the air because we care. And we'll be back on the other side. But guess who? Guess who? Shanan E. Jones. All right, y'all. I got my special guest here today, Brother Sean, the Reverend Shanan Smith of Black Push. Young man that's doing a lot of great work across this country, right? Not just in Georgia, but across this country. Sean, I'm glad to have you today via phone. But tell us a little bit about Sean and Black Push.
Man, first off, I want to say I am honored. I know earlier we mentioned that Shanan wasn't on, but I repeat what I said earlier.
Yeah, don't say it.
I'm a better guest. Shanan, I do feel like I'm a better guest. But I'm honored, man. I am so honored, so blessed, so humbled to be on your show. When the Bishop Fann, the preacher man calls, you come and run it. And actually, believe it or not, I'm sitting here looking at the megaphone you passed down to me, sitting on my desk. It stays on my desk.
Let me see it.
It is so cool. It stays on my desk at my office. There you go. But I'm honored. Black Push is an organization I started about 6 years ago. It was built around the concept of me being an offender and understanding what it's like to have to be rehabilitated, and how we have a system that doesn't really do much to rehabilitate people. It throws you out there with no resources or no way of figuring it out. And it's a difficult process. Over the last couple of years, we've advanced or grown to deal with social injustice issues and deal with voting rights issues and deal with clergy coalition building too. So we have been blessed, man, to not only have an impact in Georgia, as you stated earlier, around the whole country. Just left D.C. the other day and going to New York next week and be flying back between New York and Atlanta. So we're we're trying to make noise in this crazy, crazy world we live in today.
Well, Sean, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started? What drives you to get up every day to do this work, to fly across this country from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South, and everything in between?
So for me, I would have to go to it being my faith. Like, I really do feel like this is something that God has called me to do in this season, if that makes sense. And I know you understand. It's a season where I feel like God has just really called me up to do this. He called me to do it. Not only did he call me to do it, but he also has given me the resources, and given me the impact, and given me the people around me that I need in order to make sure that happens. So we've been, like I said, we've been blessed to do so many different things. And I do believe, like, if Jesus was here on earth, that these would be some of the issues that he would be working on. I don't believe in that metaphor, that your business is your business and your problems are your problems. I believe in the concept where Jesus said, do unto others as you have others to do unto you. And we can't say that it's okay to see our brothers or sisters suffering on any side of the aisle, no matter what race they come from, and us not give a voice to them. One of my favorite preachers of all time is a guy by the name of Reverend. He pastored the church in Alabama before Martin Luther King pastored it. And his last sermon, he preached at it wasn't Ebenezer, I'm sorry.
Dexter Avenue.
That's the Baptist church was that he said to them, he said, if you see your brother being killed in the middle of the street, you're just as guilty as the man that killed him if you don't say anything. And that's not going to be my legacy. I'm not going to see my brothers damaged or my sisters hurt and not be able to stand up for them and give a voice to their issues. So that's what I think drives me every day. That's what makes me hop on and off life, as you say. And that's what gives me the motivation and energy to keep going, to be honest.
Sean, what events do you have planned? I know you're working, just came back from D.C., talking to senators and legislators as it relates to the confirming Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. What other efforts are you and your organization involved in, and how can people get involved in Black Push?
Yeah, so we have so much going on, and it's kind of hard because sometimes I wonder, are we overstretching ourselves? But we have things from we're getting ready to partner with Black Voters Matter to run warrant clinics throughout the state of Georgia, meaning that those who have warrants will be assisting and working with the solicitor's office to help those people eliminate their warrants if they're misdemeanors or below, like traffic tickets, just different things like that people can't afford to pay for. We'll be working with the solicitor's office to actually give them relief there so people can go out and get a job. We're working with a group called Global Kingdom Academy, where they're getting ready to build a school in South Fulton right now as we speak to house young men. And it'll be an alternative to them actually having to go to DJJ. They'll be able to go to this program and pick up a trade in things like scuba diving certification, CDL classes, AVAC or HVAC services, so many different resources, over 100 different trades they'll be able to pick up. Currently, we're working on social injustice issues. We partner with so many different organizations. And I don't even want to go through and name one, because if I had to name one, I'd probably be getting choked. I don't name all of them. But we're partnering with people to deal with legislation that deals with laws that affect our juveniles. That's one of the big things. We've actually partnered with the Delta chapter on an initiative where we've looked up research where we realized that African American students are being suspended and expelled at a high rate across the country, but especially across the state of Georgia, than any other race. Those are things that we're working on. We're working on voting rights. We're working on educating people on what their rights are. We're working on legislation to affect ex-offenders and give them their rights restored from a federal standpoint, not a state-by-state standpoint. So the federal government will step in and say, these are the regulations, these are the rules, this is what you have to work within. So we have so many different things. We have our toe dipping right now. We have huge events coming up. As you know, we've done a One Accord conference last year. 3 of them, in fact, galvanizing clergy. That's going to continue this year. Our first one is actually confirmed the other day. It'll be in May in Augusta. We're going down to Augusta to galvanize the clergy down in Augusta. And then we also have a huge gala coming up in July that looks to honor the legacy of Congressman, or late Congressman John Lewis, in partnership, hopefully, with his family. So we have so much getting ready to happen this year, so many things that we're involved in. And if people want to know more and they want to be able to get involved or even volunteer, they can go to our website at www.blackpush.org. That's www.blackpush.org, where they can stay up to date on everything we have going on. Even sign up for our newsletter and see our podcast that we do every day here.
All right. Well, Sean, thank you so much for joining us and being our special guest. And, Greg Fann, the preacher man, we down with you, brother. We down with you. And, let me just tell a little story about Sean and the bullhorn. Y'all didn't see the bullhorn. I did. But Sean, we did a thing called Clergy with a Counter. And we were dealing with violence and blacks killing blacks in the area around Peter Street and Northside Drive. A lot of blacks were getting killed here at the service station. So Shanan wanted to do something, so we organized and we got clergy together. And so I had the bullhorn and I was marching and chanting and singing and everything, and Reverend McDonald was. And so I said, after it was over with, Sean said, hey, because the bullhorn, I got the bullhorn and started talking itself. I just put my message on, hit the button, the bullhorn started talking. So I said after that, when I see Sean, I'm giving him this bullhorn. I'm turning it over to Sean. So you're not a bullhorn, man.
Listen, and everywhere I go, not only do I remind, ever since I see Shanan, I always remind him that you gave him a mask, but you gave me a bullhorn. It's a reminder. You try to tell me to be quiet a little bit and tell me to speak out more. I love you, Bishop Fann. You know that. I love Reverend Jones. All have much respect for the things you guys are doing and things you guys are currently doing and still doing. And the way and the grace in which you guys do it, like amazing to me. And I am so humbled to have people like you and Shanan as mentors, as well as people like Reverend McDonald. You guys are amazing mentors. And I look to be able to put my small footprint, at least in the footprints of those giant footprints that you guys laid. And I say that wholeheartedly, seriously.
Well, God bless you, son, and we look forward to continue working with you and Black Push. And tell Bob, I said, hey. All right, thanks.
Well, Shanan made it, y'all. He made it. Sean cracked on you, Shanan. Sean cracked on you.
Did he?
Yeah.
My goodness.
What he said was, that, he got the bullhorn and you got the mask. But he did.
Tell him that ain't all I got.
but at the end, he did say that Shanan, he appreciate you, myself, and Reverend McDonald, and all that we, share with him and help him in all that he's doing So
well, that's great work. He's a great brother.
He really is a great brother. I told him he's the man who traveled around the country from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South.
The world, not just the country, the world.
That son is something else, man. I'm telling you.
That boy travels more than Santa Claus.
Well, we got this great program, and of course we're going to be talking about in a little bit with. Showing about the not Chief Justice, but the Justice of the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas, and Elizabeth Warren is going to be talking about, about his recusal of being involved in the January 6th insurrection, his wife's involvement in that. So we're going to be talking about that, and we'll be back on the other side with Shanan and I after that, and we'll discuss that with you. Don't go nowhere, and don't forget to subscribe and like our channel, hit the notification button, make comments, and share with your YouTube family. We'll be right back, Shanan and myself. Shanan E. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Back in February of 2021, the Supreme Court declined to hear an appeal by Pennsylvania Republicans who wanted to disqualify mail-in ballots from the 2020 presidential election that arrived after the election, even though all the people had been told those would count. Now, at the time, 3 justices dissented from that decision not to take up the case. Justice Clarence Thomas was one of them. And he wrote an 11-page opinion calling the refusal to hear the case, quote, inexplicable. A year later, in January 2022, the Supreme Court rejected Donald Trump's attempt to block White House records from being sent to the January 6th committee, records like those we were discussing earlier in the program. Justice Clarence Thomas was the lone public dissenter in that order. Part of the reason those two cases are so relevant at this moment is because we now know that Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, was essentially an ally to the seditious conspiracy to overthrow the 2020 election. Not only did she openly admit to attending the Stop the Steal rally on January 6th, that while, legal in a sense of the First Amendment, had a corrupt intent to overthrow an election. She says she left before fellow Trump supporters stormed the Capitol. The Washington Post reported she, quote, repeatedly pressed White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to pursue unrelenting efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election in a series of urgent text exchanges in the critical weeks after the vote. So in that most recent ruling from February 2022, when Clarence Thomas alone argued against Trump having to turn over those White House records, which included, quote, call and visitor logs, handwritten notes, and other files previously kept by senior Trump aides like Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, he was ruling on turning over a body of evidence that very well could have included his wife's plotting. She was corresponding with major players in the White House like Mark Meadows. And he, in his official capacity, is saying that none of that material should be given to the committee investigating the insurrection. Pretty clear conflict. As a result, a handful of House Democrats, including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, have called for Justice Thomas to resign or be impeached. Today, a group of 22 Democrats, led by Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington, sent a letter to Thomas and Chief Justice John Roberts demanding Thomas explain his failure to recuse himself in previous cases and that he, quote, promptly recuse himself from any future Supreme Court cases involving efforts to overturn the 2020 election or the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts joins me now. Senator, I want to start with an argument that I've seen Republicans make and that others have made through the long career of Clarence Thomas, when it has been known that his wife is an activist, that she works with conservative groups, she was involved in the Tea Party, that essentially it's unfair to go after a justice for whatever their spouse's politics happen to be. She's an independent adult, she's going to do what she wants, and this is Democrats barking up the wrong tree. What is your response to that?
Well, I have two responses to that. The first one is no one's going after her for her political point of view. The question is her participation in an insurrection against the government of the United States of America. That is something that is appropriate to investigate. And that then raises the question of conflict of interest for a sitting justice to have anything to do with a case involving that insurrection. But the second part I want to point out is that we have all kinds of times when, if you are in a position of public authority, like a Supreme Court judge or justice, then you do have to disclose certain information about your spouse, things that other folks out of the public wouldn't have to do. And the specific example here is that federal law requires that the spouses of the Supreme Court justices disclose payments that they have received, something that Clarence Thomas and Jenny Thomas have failed to do in violation of law multiple times. She received more than $680,000 from the Heritage Foundation, and yet somehow the Thomases just failed to report that. So I'm sorry, I think the Republicans are the ones who are just trying to throw up some smoke and hope people will start looking in some other direction. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, the conflict here, particularly on this, the question of the records at issue, seems like about as direct a conflict as you can get. I mean, if you're ruling on whether your wife's texts conceivably might be made public, like, that's a pretty straightforward conflict, it would seem to me. I'm no law professor, ex-law professor, or senator.
You don't have to be an ex-law professor to figure that one out. And remember, the standard is conflict of interest or appearance of a conflict in a way that could undermine public confidence. Because ultimately, that's what this is about. This is about the fact that a sitting justice, obviously, should not be making rulings that could directly affect his spouse. But it's also about what it does for the rest of the public. To say, wait a minute, what's going on there? For the rest of the public to see that a sitting justice very well may be trying to protect his spouse. And since we don't know all the pieces to the puzzle yet, we're not quite sure all that he may be protecting his spouse from.
Yeah, I want to just play what again, you and others have called for this. There's been in some ways, I think, a little bit of strange lack of outrage over this, because it seems like a incredibly incriminating set of facts on its face. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer essentially echoed this today. I want to just play you what he had to say.
I do think he should recuse himself. The information we know right now raises serious questions about how close Justice Thomas and his wife were to the planning and execution of the insurrection. And yes, I believe I'll answer both your questions. You were very clever. I think there should be some kind of code of ethics for Supreme Court justices.
On that last point, Senator, there is a code of ethics for Article 3 appointees, lifetime confirmed judicial judges. That I know, my wife clerked for federal judges, and it's important. You're not, if you're even a clerk, you're not giving money to candidates, things like that. It stops at the Supreme Court, right? Is that my understanding? That like the Supreme Court just like do what you feel and kind of vibe out, and that does seem a little odd too.
Kind of. Remember, there's federal law about conflicts, and it applies across the board.
Yeah.
The trick is that there's enforcement against circuit court judges, district court judges, bankruptcy court judges, immigration court judges, anyone that violates those rules. With the Supreme Court, it's basically, you guys will take care of yourselves on this, right? And this is why for years now, I have advanced legislation, I have argued publicly that we need a set of enforceable ethics rules in the Supreme Court as well as in the other courts. And by the way, this should be about conflicts of interest, but it should also be about things like Supreme Court justices should not be able to own individual stocks or trade in individual stocks. Again, we know that the justices, there have been instances where the justices are deciding opinions and they hold stock in the companies that will be affected. All of that presents a conflict and undermining public confidence in our courts. It is time to say self-policing is not working. We're going to put real rules in place, and we're going to have real enforcement of those rules. In the meantime, though, 22 of us have written a letter to Justice Roberts and to Justice Thomas asking both for an explanation of how it is that Justice Thomas participated in a decision that so clearly involved his own wife, and asking for a firm commitment that there will be no participation in anything that remotely bears on what happened in the January 6th insurrection going forward.
And it seems likely that the court will have more opportunities for that, based on the way things are going. Senator Elizabeth Warren, thank you so much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Well, we're back now, and boy, that was interesting, wasn't it, Shanan? Wasn't it interesting to hear?
Oh yeah, it certainly was.
Yeah. So, what's your perspective about this recusal of Justice Thomas?
Well, I definitely think that he should recuse himself. I think that this is potentially a slippery slope that can backfire, because you have a person who is seated on the United States Supreme Court, and he has a spouse who is extremely active as a Republican or conservative strategist, and she makes no apologies about her position. And in strategy, sometimes in political strategy, as we all know, sometimes that gets very dicey. I think that the concern is whether or not her politics influences his judgment. And I think that is something that an investigation would have to prove. But I think that we have folks on the other side of the aisle who are on our side of the aisle who also have spouses. And those spouses may have some very extreme views that the other side could use against. So, I think that it's a potential slippery slope. I think to ask him to step down from the United States Supreme Court after 30 years or 30 plus years, I think is an overstep. Although I think that where there is smoke, there needs to be investigation. Just don't let the smoke go. I think we need to investigate it. But I don't think that that before we investigate it, we need to condemn the House.
Well, what about the thing that she was saying in terms of other reforms of the powers of the justices, in terms of divulging their monies, the monies that they're taking in? Like she said that they did over $650,000 that they didn't report. Justice Thomas and his wife. What about the reform that she's talking about doing in terms of making sure that there's some oversight of justices in terms of what they're doing, and they don't have self-checking themselves? Because what we have now is a self-check of the justice, because the Chief Justice is put in a position where he's got to try to really ask Mr. Thomas, Justice Thomas, to recuse himself. He didn't have to, because that's his choice. So what do you think about that?
I would say that there needs to, be an investigation in it, and I think that that any policies of the United States Supreme Court should not trump the Constitution, the United States Constitution, and certainly they should govern themselves to always be able to be one that can say that justice is blind, and that it looks at the facts and it judges according to the laws. I think where it comes to the financial policies, if there are policies that show that certain monies are to be disclosed, they should be disclosed. And if that was an overstep, then there should be some form of a sanction for that. Again, calling for, I think that the letter that Senator Warren said was that 22 senators out of 99 signed on. That, by my math, tells me that there's a great number of senators, 77, that did not sign on to that letter. And that would be across party lines. I just think that there should be a measured approach to this, because, again, we have justices on both sides. We need to look at the policies. And if something was done intentionally, it should be dealt with. If something was done unintentionally, it also should be dealt with. But I think that it should be dealt with in a measured approach.
Well, let me just change the subject just a little bit. And as we're talking about the justices, now the confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, we finally got her name right, Ketanji Brown Jackson, to the court, and how she was dealt with during the confirmation hearing by Senator Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, and I think they were probably the most two that were. There were some others who were kind of questionable, came across the line, but those two were the two, in my opinion, the two ones that went a little bit across the line, and even Senator Graham even using profanity on the national stage. So what's your opinion or your comment about that?
It's a opinion larger, Bishop, than that moment. And it is, for me, the state of our American politics and how we play to our bases, as opposed to standing up and being the adult in the room. There's no higher legislative branch in this nation than the United States Senate. And when that turns into a kangaroo court, then you know that it's living beneath the values of the Constitution of this country. I mean, we could not have written the Constitution that we have today. That Constitution could not have been written under this present American politic. And that's a problem. That means that we've strayed away from the dignity of the nation. And so I think that it was them playing to their base. I think it was unfortunate. I think she handled herself well. I think it's part of the, unfortunately, talking about the current state of our American politic. I think that it was par for the course. And I think that if any of us raise the Ketanji Brown Jackson issue, they'll just go and grab the Kavanaugh and say, well, I think it was also, they would say, and they have said, that we went all the way back to high school dating records, or unfortunately, a dating record that may have been egregious and wrong, but that's what they say that we've done on our side. So, I think that we have to have a larger discussion about the state of the American political system and how we are engaging and moving about in terms of good or crazy, insane governance.
Well, I want to just thank you so much for joining and from your other office and being with us.
Say what? You went a little low there. I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
I want to thank you so very much for joining us from your other office. Because I told the people you're doing 11 different things at one time, and many times you can't get in to the studio. I don't want people to think that you're just out there and not wanting to be in the studio with me, but you're dealing with a whole many things. You're the president of the Concerned Black Clergy. You're a member and a partner in Faith Strategy with myself and Bishop Lackey, and you're doing your church. You have a church that you're a pastor of, the Gathering Church.
The Gathering Church.
We want to talk a little bit about what you're doing with your economic service that you're doing, you and the other pastor. You want to talk about that?
Absolutely, and I would encourage everyone to go to Shanan E. Jones, go to my Facebook page, or the Gathering ATL, the Gathering ATL. Tomorrow, we are kicking off the financial literacy ministry of the Gathering Church. April is Financial Literacy Month, and as you know, we just have not received, as John Hope Bryant says, we have not received the memo in terms of what to do with money. And so as we look out at our community and we say what's wrong with our community, and then we go to other communities and they don't look like ours, we have to look at various different things, such as a credit score, a 700 credit score or beneath. And there are certain parasites, economic parasites, that prey on communities that have a credit score that is below 700. You see less banks and more payday lenders. You see more pawn shops and less jewelry stores. You see less. You see inadequate access to owning houses. You see redlining and various things like that. So we are going back to what Dr. King was dealing with on April the 3rd, 1968, the night before he was unfortunately assassinated. He challenged us to do a bank in. He challenged us to do an insurance in. He challenged us to awaken and to begin to deal with the issues of financial justice and financial literacy. And so this is a part of my thinking, the April 5th coalition. The day after Dr. King was killed, the question becomes, where do we go from here? How do we move into the marching orders that he was giving us that night when he said, boycott Coca-Cola in Memphis? And he began telling us where to buy bread and where to pull our money out of and where to put our money. And so we want to begin to have that conversation. Just very quickly, I'm going to say this and I'm done with this. And thank you, Bishop, for the opportunity to do this today. If someone just took $50 a week, and put that aside, We're going to deal with this on tomorrow. But if you just took $50 a week and put that aside, you'd be amazed with how much money that you could raise in 6 months to a year. And if you had 3 or 4 friends of yours that were putting that money together in the same way, you'd be amazed at the amount of investment opportunity money that you would have to be able to buy a piece of property, to be able to buy a certain block of stock, to be able to really do something that you can leave to the next generation. The Bible talks greatly about being able to leave an inheritance to your children's children. That all begins with financial literacy. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., the Gathering Baptist Church will be sponsoring a Zoom. It is free. The Reverend Dr. Darrell Edwards, who is a financial literacy specialist and a stockbroker, will be with us on tomorrow to begin to light the spark that becomes the flame of this conversation, the blaze of this conversation. And then he will preach again with us on Sunday morning. He'll be our preacher to talk to us more about the spiritual and economic liberation revolution that we need in our community. Thank you, Bishop.
Well, you want to welcome Shanan because it's much needed information because we live in a capitalistic society and we need to know how to manage our money and how to get the best bang for our buck, especially the way things are now and prices and food and everything is going up. We need to have a better understanding as to how to grow our money and how to use our money. Thank you for your leadership in that regard.
Thank you, sir.
We ask you to join that live Facebook conference with Pastor Jones, and also join him at the Gathering Church on Sunday morning. Won't you? Hey, listen, we're going to get ready to get out of here. This ain't been nothing but straight talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the preacher man. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe now. Subscribe and like us. And it don't cost you a dime. For some people say, how much it costs? It doesn't cost anything to subscribe to our channel. Just hit the button and subscribe and hit the bell there. And when the notification come on, we're on the air, you'll know it because it'll notify you that we're on the air and you can check out Straight Talk. And like us, give us a thumbs up, and then don't forget to make comments. We'd love to have your comments about the show, what's going on. I know many people send them to me via text, or they'll see me in the street or in church or services or different places. They'll see us and then they'll say, hey, what's going on? We enjoy it. Thank you for your comments and share with your Facebook friend. One other announcement before we leave here. As Shanan said earlier, Monday is the anniversary death of Dr. Martin Luther King. He was assassinated on April the 4th, 1968. Now here we are, how many years later, and we're still dealing with the same issues that we were dealing with before he died. We need for you to know who running for office. We need for you to study them, know about them, and you can contact us. Contact us at Faith Strategies. You can contact us. You can find us on the website. It's Faith Strategies Group. And we love to help you and inform you more about what's going on in the political arena. That's what we do right here on Straight Talk. All right? And, of course, you'll have the number to call me, 404-308-0795. You can call me. I'll get it out every week. Or you can just, do out there again, Faith Strategies Group with yours truly, Greg Fann, the preacher man, Shanan Jones, and Bishop Aaron B. Lackey Sr. Well, until next week, we hope you stay tuned, share, and be a part of the Straight Talk family. And it ain't been nothing but what, Shanan? Straight Talk. All right, Brother Hal, take us on out of here.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fann at FANN922@Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shanan Jones and Greg Fann, the Preacher Man.